Let me then turn away to the other big story of the day. It was a bitter end to India's World Cup dream today. The defending champions knocked out of the 2015 World Cup, losing to co-host Australia in the semi-final by a whopping 95 runs. India starting well in pursuit of 329 runs, but eventually the Australian pace attack was simply too good. The likes of Virat Kohli dismissed for just one, and no real Indian batsman barring skipper Dhoni, who fought a lone battle, really were able to take on the Australians. The star of the game, Australia's Steve Smith, who scored a century. Let's first listen in to what Mahendra Singh Dhoni had to say after the game.
I knew the wicket will get slightly better in the second half. When we lost the toss, I was a bit worried where I thought maybe the spinners won't get as much purchase, but I felt Jadeja and Ashwin, both of them, they bowled well. And on the hindsight, the good thing was we got a bit of reverse swing going. So I felt our fast bowlers could have done slightly better, because I knew in the second half, there won't be much of reverse swing. So that's the only reason I felt our fast bowlers could have done slightly better. But once we came back into the game and restricted them to 327, I felt it was a good score. Yes, there was pressure, but at the same time, it needed some good back.
Okay, so Mahendra Singh Dhoni has also made it clear he's not planning to retire right away. Now, despite the fact that Team India was unbeaten till this semi-final, some Indian fans have decided to blame Anushka Sharma and Virat Kohli for the defeat. Anushka Sharma because she was present in the stands, Virat Kohli because he was out for just one run. Social media has erupted with jokes and jibes, and in different parts of the country there have even been effigies that have been burned. Just take a look at some of these pictures that we've seen. TV sets are being broken in some parts of the country simply because Team India lost a cricket match. Now, is Anushka Sharma going to be blamed? Is this worth a TV set being broken down in this manner? Should TV sets be broken when an Indian cricket team loses? Should the effigies of fans be burned? Is this the kind of image that we want to project to the world? Is the question that I want to raise of our fans today. That's my question. India crashes out of the World Cup. Will our fans learn to take defeat more gracefully? Were Australia simply too good for us? Those are some of the questions that I want to raise this evening here on the news today at 9. Joining me now, Andrew Simons from Australia, former World Cup winner. Also with us, Nikhil Chopra, former India international. We'll also be joined by Shashi Tharoor. He's a great cricket fan, I can tell you. Quite apart from being a member of parliament, loves his cricket. And Dilip Tahil, actor and someone who also loves his cricket. So we'll try and find out why are fans behaving in the manner that they are. That's a question I posed to Saurav Ganguly, the former India captain. I asked him, how did he respond to fans targeting Anushka Sharma and Virat Kohli and their relationship for the team's performance? Listen in to what Saurav had to say.
I think they need to grow up, Rajdeep, because this is ridiculous. The same Anushka Sharma was in Australia when Virat Kohli was getting those big test hundreds at the MCG and the SCG, back-to-back test hundreds, and taking India out of trouble. For God's sake, it's a cricket match. Some days you get runs, some days you don't get runs. And this man has got 500s in Australia in the last 4 months. He's your best batsman, and I think all of us need to get matured and understand there's a bit more to life than just getting runs and playing cricket. Just to leave them alone, because they're just normal human beings. One may be the test captain of India and the other may be a very popular film actress, but that doesn't mean they're not human.
Saurav, we are playing pictures at the moment of fans burning effigies, breaking TV sets, someone even saying, why was Dhoni smiling in post-match press conferences? Someone saying shame in Sydney. Is this partly because of the media who has created this perception this team was unbeatable, and so, therefore there's a natural reaction that fans get angry when we lose?
No, I think the fans need to understand that you win some, you lose some. What has Dhoni got to do? He cannot be just sitting crying in a press conference when he knows he's been outplayed by a very good side on that particular day. I've been through this myself, effigies being burned, being criticized, things being spoken about, so I can understand where it is coming from. Dhoni will take it in his stride and move on. His experience over the 7 years as captain of India has made him realize that. And I was hearing his press conference, and I can bet you that once he gets out of that, he will just move on to another day and get back home to be with his little girl.
So what do you then attribute the defeat to? Let's be clear, we were badly beaten today. Was it simply because at the end of the day, it's time fans and everyone else in this country starts acknowledging Australia is a much better team than India?
I think they're a much better team, much better bowling attack. It was a good toss to win today, a big semi-final. When you win the toss and get 329, you put the opposition under huge pressure. If India would have got 300, Australia would be under similar pressure as well. So it's been Australia's day. They've batted well, they've bowled well, and they've outplayed India in every department. And you've got to accept at times in cricket such things.
Do you think there are though cracks and holes in the Indian team that we also need, that India needs to start accepting that we are not as good as we make ourselves out to be?
See, you play what you get, and all those teams you've named have been part of the Indian group, and India has had to play and win cricket matches against them. But I do agree with you, there are certain areas which needs to get stronger in this Indian team, and Dhoni from now on, if he wants to continue as captain of India, we'll have to find players who could fill up those holes.
What are those holes? What are the holes that you believe were exposed today, the chinks in the Indian armour that were exposed today in this match?
I think we need a little more contribution from the lower order. I think number 7 is a very crucial position in any team in the world, and Ravindra Jadeja has got to get better either with the ball or with the bat. I think Suresh Raina has got to get better in overseas conditions against good attacks, and these are the areas Dhoni needs to have a look and see how they can get these players to play better.
I want to ask you this, you've been a former India captain, successful India captain. If you were in Mahendra Singh Dhoni's place, would you now believe that this is the end of the road? Would you take this opportunity to retire, or do you believe that Dhoni has still much to offer for Indian cricket?
No, I think he's got still much to offer, and he needs to, now that he doesn't play Test cricket, I think he needs to look how he can get this team to galvanize and become a better side in overseas conditions. For the time being, they all need to take a break, not to think about anything and do any knee-jerk reactions. Let the IPL finish. India will have some time off before they start playing again, and think how they can become better and how they can get forward, especially in conditions which are away from the subcontinent.
I want to come back to that fan reaction, because that is our focus that I'm going to do on the program today. One channel today running a hashtag shame in Sydney, others, as I said, sort of calling Virat the villain, Anushka in a sense responsible for distracting Virat Kohli from his performance. Was it a shame in Sydney as per you? Do you believe that even using these words as shame in Sydney, how does that affect players, and do you believe it's justified the kind of reaction we've had in some parts of this country and the media?
No, I don't think at all, Rajdeep, and you will agree with me because you're a cricket lover, you've played the sport, there's no shame in losing cricket matches. You've lost against a team which was better than you, and you've got to accept that and move on.
Okay, we've got to move on. Will the fans move on is the big question. Saurav Ganguly, as always, a pleasure. I'm glad that you've called the behavior of our fans stupid. Thank you very much for joining us there. The fans who've been sort of burning effigies of our players. Let me take that to my panel. Andrew Simons, are you stunned with the reaction of the Indian cricket fans who are virtually suggesting it's a shame that India has lost by these 95 by such a wide margin? Do you think we need to grow up, as Saurav seems to be suggesting?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think blaming a player and his girlfriend for the loss is the way forward at all. It's untrue for a start. It's unnecessary. I know people get frustrated when their team loses, but that's not the way forward at all. It's quite embarrassing.
Would that happen in Australia? Let's assume Australia had lost this match. How would would the Australian fans have also got equally angry, perhaps blamed the fact that, blamed Michael Clarke, the captain of the team? Does that happen all over the world, or do you believe India is unique because of our passion for the game?
Oh, look, India is probably slightly unique, but at the end of the day, the media or the fans are going to try and blame someone once the team loses. But it's the way you go about it, and blaming this poor young lady is not the way to do it. India got outplayed by Australia today. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you get beaten by a team who's played better cricket than you.
The fact though is that Virat's had a bad tournament, and suddenly people are gunning for him, almost forgetting the fact that he had a terrific test series where Anushka was also present. Absolutely. Now who's going to explain this? Now the fact is it a distraction in any way? Is it time that our fans started realizing that cricketers are perhaps playing a very high pressure sport when they could go wrong? Virat could be off form.
Anything is possible, but at the end of the day, you cannot blame Virat Kohli and his girlfriend saying that if she's present in Australia, that she's a distraction to him. At the end of the day, like you just said, and like Saurav said, she was part when he got 400s. No other Indian batsman on that 4-month tour has got 500s to his name. Think about that. But at the end of the day, you know, this is sport. Why do you play 6 batsmen or 7 batsmen in a side, Rajdeep? Because in one particular game, you've never got all 6 or all 7 firing. You've got 2 or 3 guys who get starts, go out there and convert. So somebody or the other takes over the banter and just carries forward. It could be just unfortunate that today was not his day, and like Andrew and everybody, all of us are saying, we just got outplayed by Australia. They played right from the word go. They took the game away from the Indian side, and you need to take that on the chin, that you got beat.
You got beat, you need to take it on the chin. Shashi Tharoor joins us, as I said, member of parliament and someone who's a cricket fan. Shashi Tharoor, when you see fans burning effigies, when today you've got a situation where on Twitter, Anushka Sharma is being blamed for Virat's poor form, what does that suggest for us as our fans? I mean, we love this game, but is our passion turning into some kind of crazy mob frenzy now?
It is, in fact, this irony, in fact, as an Indian cricket fan, is that this used to be the kind of attitude that we would mock the Pakistanis for. You know, the frequent stories of Pakistanis emptying Kalashnikovs into their television sets when they lost to India, and burning effigies and pelting stones, and mullahs making pronunciations against their cricketers and so on. Now we are behaving with the same degree of extremism and intolerance. It's a reflection, I think, that today, particularly on social media, and therefore incited by social media, a lot of extreme behavior is gaining ground and is getting, unfortunately, free rein. The sad thing is, in every sport there's winning and losing. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Are you suggesting that the media is feeding into this frenzy?
No, I don't think so. I was on your channel yesterday, Rajdeep, and when I was asked, so what do you think is going to happen? And I said, well, my head says Australia, my heart says India. I was roundly booed by your studio audience. No one wanted to hear that it was even possible for India to lose. We are so gung-ho about winning. It's a great thing in many ways that we're so motivated and positive, but we don't sometimes allow for the fact that in every sport, victory and defeat is part of what happens. I hope that we will have more victories than defeats, but our players seem to have forgotten indeed how badly we've been off in Australia in the last little while. The fact that we lost a series in England, we didn't do well in New Zealand before that. I mean, we aren't terribly good travellers as cricketers, and I think we're getting better. And here's a team that's still very young. Many of them are in the early part of their careers. We're going to see these guys being in great shape to win 2019. Let's think of it that way.
Yes, Nikhil, you wanted to make a quick point. And
coming back to that Virat and Anushka,
yes.
Do you think the fans would have taken pot shots if Anushka Sharma was not an actress? Well, that would have, nobody would have.
That's right. She's a high-profile star. She goes there for the Sydney match. The next thing she finds, she's being attacked because Virat Kohli has not scored runs. The same Virat Kohli who's been our star performer through much of the series. But Dilip Tahil, interestingly, you know, I'm finding the likes of Sachin Tendulkar and Amitabh Bachchan coming out strongly, icons themselves in favor, support of Team India. But it seems on the street, people are looking for a villain. Everyone is looking for a villain and a scapegoat after a defeat. And they seem to have found their villain in a Virat Kohli today. They seem to have found their villain in a Ravindra Jadeja today. And in an Anushka Sharma of all people. What does that suggest about us? That we look for villains all the time.
Well, Rajdeep, a very good evening to you and to all the panelists. At the outset, let me say that I would like to congratulate Team India on a wonderful World Cup campaign. From where they were in Australia before they began the World Cup, there's been a huge sea change in their attitude and the way they've played. Today, unfortunately, they came up against a team which even when they're having a bad day in the office is difficult to beat, but they had the rub of the green. As far as the hysteria goes, it's always kind of been there. I think part of the responsibility has to be taken on by the advertising media and the sponsors who do ads like, "We won't give it back." There was this ad running before the World Cup which had people almost in a nationalistic frenzy, just being so over the top about it and saying we won't give it back. It's like a child and a toy. I mean, this is the kind of frenzy you're whipping up in people. And then when the team loses, and loses fair and square on a day that they played up with the team which was on the day better, I mean, this is the kind of reaction that people have. So we must take some responsibility for that.
That's an interesting point you're making, Dilip, about advertising. And I want to take that to you, Shashi Tharoor, because it appears that the advertising campaign and the entire fervor around this World Cup was to create some kind of a jingoism. India against the world. Mauka, mauka. You know, it was about this one Indian against taking on the world. Naturally, now when we've lost, fans who have been built up on this hyper nationalism for the past 2 months are going to vent their fury at someone.
Well, I think that is definitely to be blamed, Rajdeep, because, you know, in India, sport has never been identified to this degree with national relevance or worth. You know, whereas in a country like Pakistan, you could understand this is one of the very few things they could hold on to that made them feel validated in their self-worth. In India, that was never an issue. It was a sporting activity, one of many that we did it, and frankly something which was one of the things that we were proud of about being Indian. But I think partly because of the media eyeballs, the advertising campaigns, you mentioned the Mauka campaign, the We Won't Give It Back campaign that Dilip Tahil mentioned, all of this together has indeed stirred up an unnecessary sense of national identification, and India against the world is the worst of the lot. Because we're not against the world, we're playing cricket with the world. But that somehow just didn't come across. And I hope that some of these advertising gurus will learn a lesson. The Mauka thing was fun until it came up with this India against the world.
That's right.
Because the Mauka thing actually went viral, people laughed about it, it was good natured. But then this angle, in the final ads, you know, as if it's us against the world, that was unnecessary and may well explain some of the deep frustrations that you're seeing behind those who are burning effigies and blaming poor Anushka and Virat.
Right.
In fact, the irony is, I tweeted when this match began that my fear was of 2003 redux. Australia bat first, build a massive score, and we're not able to chase it.
You must have been called
so many
anti-national for that.
reminders of 2003, including Virat getting out to a catch very similar to the one that Tendulkar got out to in 2003.
And you must have been called anti-national for suggesting that.
A steepling shot that went straight up instead of far.
That's right.
Yes, I'm afraid so, yeah.
You know, I just want to know, Andrew Simon, as someone who's watching this from the outside, I mean, are you sort of quietly smiling at it? Look, you won the match. The Australians have won this fair and square. But are you smiling at the kind of reaction that we've had in this country? Does this trouble you? As an Australian cricketer, you know, India is now the home of cricket in many ways. But do we need to grow up? The point that I'm keeping on making today, do we need to grow up? Cricket is not about life and death. We should be ashamed when a farmer commits suicide in this country, not when a cricket match is lost. How do you see it from an outsider's perspective?
It's a real shame. I think the media do give it fuel, though. You know, you do play it and replay it and play it again. And as you said, if a farmer's committed suicide for whatever reason he may think, that's a lot sadder story. A train smash is a lot sadder story than losing a game of cricket. It's only a game of cricket. There will be another World Cup. There will be another chance for India to win the World Cup.
Do you think it puts extra pressure? Do you think our fans put extra pressure on us through this World Cup by the manner in which we were sort of virtually insisting that we were going to be world champions come what may, that we were the best team in the world, even though our record didn't suggest it?
Yeah, I mean, being an Indian cricketer, and when you're winning, it's the best place to be a cricketer. But when you're losing, it can be the worst. You know, just the way that people react. It's over the top, it's unnecessary. And in some of these cases, people have taken it far too far.
Do you see it changing at all? Dilip Tahil, do you see it changing? We all love our cricket, but do you believe it's ever going to change? Because it is a big entertainment industry now. Everyone, including us in the media, we've been feeding on this frenzy. Some of my fellow studio anchors have been feeding on this frenzy. They feed on it in politics, and now they want to feed on it in cricket.
Look, I mean, it's a very difficult, quite a question to answer, because I mean, Indians are emotional people, and cricket has become like a national pastime, and not everybody knows that and wants to play it, and usually plays it quite well. I'm not sure I really wanted to change to such an extent that we become dispassionate about the game, but I guess over a period of time and more programs like this, and perhaps there'll come a little bit of a maturity and hopefully a little balanced view to the fact that it is eventually a cricket game, and the Indian team is as vulnerable, I suppose, as any other cricket team. Yeah, but I would still like to see the kind of passion that that we have.
But let me put it this way: it's not new. 1971, Ajit Wadekar won the series against England. There was a motorcade he was taken on along with the rest of the team. 74, his house was stoned when India lost against England, just 3 years later. We have extreme reactions in this country. So it's not something that just happened in 2015 because of the advertising frenzy. It's always happened. Is it just the way? Does it come with the territory? You get a lot of money, you get a lot of, you're part of the entertainment industry, you've got to take the pressure, Nikhil.
Well, you've got to take the pressure, but it's unfortunate. You know, I understand where Dilip's coming from. You know, when you talk about emotional people, and like I said, money, if you're good enough, money will come. You cannot correlate the two. If he's making so much money, he's got to go out there and win the World Cup. And you're talking about 11 people. It's a team sport. You know, the extremism, when you lose, you cannot be burning effigies, you cannot be throwing down television sets, you cannot be going down and throwing athletes'
And you also
houses.
believe what Saurabh said, we were just not good enough. The Australians have taken this one-day cricket to another level.
Without a doubt. You know, how Smith and Finch had that little partnership and took the game through. When we pulled it back a little bit, we were at one stage looking scores of maybe chasing down past 350, Rajdeep.
Sure.
We brought it back. I thought we were in the game. You know, that start that Shikhar and Rohit gave us, 75 of 12 overs, and we had that partnership and carried on for a little bit further, you know, we could have put a lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, you know, guys bowling at 145 clicks at an average, more than that, Stark, Johnson, Hazelwood, phenomenal athletes. We had to go out there and literally play out of our skins to be a lot more competitive. We must accept defeat and victories with the same amount of grace. Like Andrew said, it's just a game of cricket. You know, there are two teams turning up to go out there and play. One is going to be on the losing side.
Okay, let me then give you the final word there, Shashi Tharoor, because as I said, 1971 it happened to Ajit Wadekar. It's happened to other cricketers also whose homes have been stoned in the past. It's not as if this is only happening in the 21st century, in the era of 24/7 channels with their so-called unbridled nationalism where truth doesn't matter anymore. It is not only in the 21st century, it's been happening over the last 30-40 years.
Look, no, Rajdeep, actually there was a huge difference of proportion. I actually was around in 71 and 74. 71, the great celebration was because it was a first. The first time we'd won a tour of the West Indies, the first time we'd won a tour of England. In 74, it was the scale of the humiliation. When India were bowled out for 42 at Lord's, people felt a level of disgust that translated into this kind of behavior. Otherwise, we have won and lost series without any of this stuff. What's out of proportion with what's happening today is that actually our World Cup team has done extraordinarily well. We have beaten South Africa. We have beaten Pakistan. We've been the only side in the entire tournament to have taken all the wickets of our opponents in every one of our first 7 matches. 7 matches, 70 wickets. We were the only side not to have lost all our wickets in all 7 matches. In every respect, it's been an outstanding performance. Our team needs congratulations. Today, there is no disgrace in being beaten by a manifestly better team. As Nikhil was saying, the skills of the Australian team happen to be right now, and especially on the day, superior to ours. But we were in the game till at least until Shikhar got out, and perhaps again until Rahane got out. We had a glimmer of hope. But once those two things happened, you know, it's a sport for God's sake, and we really have to tell our people, let's appreciate our boys for having got us this far, and they did not disgrace themselves, and they really are learning. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you learn. Right. I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. You learn from losing. And these guys have actually managed to learn, I think, enough lessons that will hold them in good stead for the next World Cup and for all the ODI tournaments in between.
But I wish there were more sensible voices speaking on this subject. Unfortunately, in this era of television rating points, of creating frenzy and all, at any occasion, whether you're in the advertising world or in the television world, it seems we are stirring some kind of misguided nationalism that results in blaming an Anushka Sharma, of all people, for our defeat in a World Cup match. Andrew Simons, you can get that smile off your face every time I say that. Nikhil Chopra, Dilip Tahil, Shashi Tharoor, appreciate your joining us.